Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! It was just another day or so, I thought. My mom had been complaining about headaches for a few days. I suggested going to the ER, but she brushed it off, saying it was getting better. Little did I know our lives were about to change forever. That morning, I noticed something was off. Mom was acting strange, confused, walking funny. It reminded me of her previous stroke, even though these weren't the typical symptoms. I knew we had to act fast. I suggested we go to the doctor's office, but in my mind, I was planning to take her to the ER. I knew she'd refuse if I mentioned the hospital, so I had to be sneaky about it. We called an Uber instead of an ambulance because the nearest hospital wasn't the best, and I wanted her to get proper care. By the time we arrived at the ER, Mom's condition had worsened. She could barely walk. I quickly grabbed a wheelchair and rushed her inside. At the front desk, I gave them her information and explained her symptoms, emphasizing that I suspected a stroke. The waiting room was packed, but I was too worried about Mom to pay attention to anyone else. We sat down. Within a minute, a nurse came out and took us straight to a room. I was relieved they were taking her condition seriously. My friend was on her way to meet us, but she had to wait in the lobby for a bit. Later, she told me what happened while we were being treated. Apparently, as soon as we were taken back, people in the waiting room started complaining. They were upset that we gotten special treatment while some of them had been waiting for hours. The situation escalated quickly, with angry patients approaching the front desk and raising their voices. The nurse who had taken us back overheard the commotion from the triage room. He stormed out in the waiting area, furious at the entitled behavior he was witnessing. Listen up, everyone. Patients are seen based on the severity of their condition, not on a first-come, first-served basis. The woman we just took back is having a stroke, and there is a very limited window to save her life. Some people tried to argue, but the nurse wasn't having it. If any of you are unhappy with how we operate here, you're free to leave. There are over a dozen other hospitals in the metro area. But as long as you're here, we will continue to prioritize the most critical cases. He then called for security to make sure things didn't get out of hand. My friend said the atmosphere in the waiting room changed after that. Some people looked ashamed, while others still grumbled but kept their complaints to themselves. Meanwhile, I was oblivious to all this drama. I was focused solely on my mom as the medical team worked to assess her condition and start treatment. The next few hours were a blur of tests, doctors, and worried conversations. It turned out that Mom had indeed suffered another stroke. The quick action we took in getting her to the ER and the prompt attention from the medical staff made a significant difference in her outcome. However, the stroke still left her with some disabilities. Over the next 2 years, our lives revolved around Mom's care and rehabilitation. It was a challenging time filled with ups and downs, small victories, and heartbreaking setbacks. Despite everyone's best efforts, Mom's health continued to decline. 19 months after that fateful day in the ER, Mom passed away. It was devastating, but I took comfort in knowing we had done everything we could to give her the best chance at recovery. Reflecting on that day at the ER, I'm grateful for the nurse who stood up for us and for the medical staff who recognized the urgency of Mom's condition. Their quick action gave us those extra months with her. Months that were precious despite the difficulties. I often think about the people in the waiting room and wonder if they ever realized how lucky they were. Being made to wait in an ER isn't a punishment or a sign of poor service. It's often a blessing in disguise. It means your condition isn't life-threatening, that you're not the one being rushed back because every second counts. My story starts on a Tuesday afternoon. I was off duty, just trying to pick up a birthday gift for my niece. Little did I know I was about to run into the most entitled person I've ever met. First, let me give you a bit of background about myself. I wasn't always a cop. I used to work in an office, pushing papers and staring at a computer screen all day. It was mind-numbing work, and I felt like I wasn't making any real difference in the world. Then one day I witnessed a mugging on my way home from work. I tried to help, but I felt so helpless and unprepared. And that's when I decided to change my career and become a police officer. Fast forward a few years and there I was, an off-duty cop in a video game store, trying to buy the last copy of my niece's favorite game for her birthday. I had promised her I'd get it, and I was determined to keep that promise. I finally found the last copy on the shelf and was heading to the checkout when I heard the shrill voice behind me. Excuse me, that's the game my son wants. I turned around to see a woman with a kid who looked about 10 years old, and she had that classic I want to speak to the manager haircut, and her face was already turning red. I'm sorry, but I grabbed it first. It's for my niece's birthday. Well, my son wants it more. He's been waiting for this game for months. I understand, but I got it first. Maybe you can check another store or order it online? No, we want this one. Now. You're an adult. You don't need video games. Give it to my son. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I tried to stay calm and explain again. Ma'am, I am buying this for my niece, not myself. I'm not going to give it to you just because you're demanding it. Do you know who I am? My husband is friends with the store owner. I'll have you banned from here. That doesn't change anything. I still got to the game first, and I'm going to buy it. At this point, her kid started whining and tugging on her arm. Mom, I want the game. Make him give it to me. Don't worry, sweetie. This mean man is going to give us a game right now. She turned back to me with a nasty look. Listen here, you selfish jerk. Give us a game now, or you'll regret it. Ma'am, I'm not going to tell you again. The game is mine. Please leave me alone, or I'll have to call security. And that's when things really went off the rails. Without warning, she kicked me right in the groin. I doubled over in pain. In that moment, her kid snatched the game out of my hand. Run, sweetie, go to the car. Through the haze of pain, I saw them making a break for it. They were actually trying to steal the game. Despite the throbbing pain, my police instinct kicked in. I couldn't let them get away with this. I struggled to my feet and started after them. Kid was fast, but the woman, who was a bit on the heavier side, was slowing down as she tried to keep up with her son. I managed to catch up to her in the snack aisle. Stop right there. Help! This man is attacking me! I could hear security guards running towards us. I tackled her to the ground trying to keep her from escaping. I'm a police officer. This woman assaulted me and tried to steal merchandise. The security guards arrived, looking confused at the scene before them. What's going on here? One of them asks. I'm an off-duty police officer. This woman kicked me and had her son steal a game I was about to purchase. They tried to run out of the store without paying. I showed them my badge while still keeping the woman pinned down. One of the guards went after the kid while I put handcuffs on the woman. You can't do this to me. I know my rights. Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. I called for backup and soon on-duty officers arrived to take her to the station. The security guards had managed to catch her son and recover the game. As the officers were taking her away, she was still yelling and making threats. I'll sue all of you. My husband's a lawyer. Ma'am, you assaulted a police officer and attempted to steal merchandise. Your husband being a lawyer isn't going to help you here. After giving my statement to the responding officers, I was finally able to buy the game for my niece. Talk about a birthday gift with a story behind it. Later I found out about the charges pressed against the woman. She was charged with assault on a peace officer, attempted shoplifting, and other charges. Her son was released to his father's custody and Child Protective Services got involved to investigate the home situation. The woman ended up pleading guilty to avoid a trial. She got community service, a fine, and mandatory anger management classes. Last I heard, she was banned from the store for life. You know, in all my years on force, I've dealt with a lot of entitled people, but this one really took the cake. It just goes to show, you never know when your police training might come in handy, even on your day off. And let me tell you, my niece was thrilled about her birthday gift. She couldn't stop laughing when I told her the story of how I got it for her. It's definitely a birthday she'll never forget. I work for a 24-hour news organization, which means someone always has to be in the studio. As a staff member, I get paid time off and vacation days. I don't use them much, but we can carry over 5 unused days to the next year if we use them in the first quarter. The end of the year is crazy busy. Everyone's trying to use up their vacation days before they expire. Management plans for this, letting us know the rules early and scheduling December way ahead of time. They don't want any last-minute problems during the holidays. I usually don't use much of my paid time off during the year. I build up comp time and overtime instead. So I typically take about 10 days off between Christmas and New Year's. This year was different. I had 6 days left, one extra day that I couldn't use. I'd already booked my time off between Christmas and New Year's, and there was literally no one left to cover a shift if I took another day. I went to the scheduler and management to see if we could work something out. Hey, I've got an extra day of paid time off that I can't use. Can I get a one-time exception to carry it over? I'd take it on January 2nd, just extending my break by one day. Management says, sorry, that's not possible. You didn't give us a required notice for that. Okay, then can you pay me one day's wages for the unused time? That's also not possible. We don't do that. I was frustrated, but then I had an idea. I had tons of paid time off saved up from working holidays and overtime. I did some quick math and realized I could take a really long break. I could leave for my Christmas break on December 24th and not come back until the last week of February, almost March. And since I was given plenty of notice, they couldn't say no. The next day, I put my time off request in the system and sent an email to the scheduler. Hi there, I put in my time off request. Have a great holiday season. See you in March. March? There must be some mistake. No mistake. I've got enough time saved up, and I'm given proper notice. The day after that, I got a call from the vice president of our department. What's going on with your time off request? We can't have you gone for 2 months. Well, it's simple. Let me carry over my extra day from this year. I'll use it on January 2nd. You'll have almost a month to cover one shift, and we're all good. But that's not how we usually do things. I understand, but consider the alternative. You'll have to cover all my shifts for nearly 2 months if we don't do this. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Fine, we'll make an exception this time. You can carry over the extra day and use it on January 2nd. Great, thank you. I'll update my request right away. And just like that, I got my way. It's funny how sometimes you have to push back to get what you deserve. I mean, I wasn't asking for anything crazy, just to use the time off I'd earned. The whole situation got me thinking about how companies often make rules without considering how they affect their employees. We're not just numbers on a spreadsheet, We're people with lives and plans. I went back to work on January 3rd, feeling pretty good about standing up for myself. But I couldn't help wondering if things would be different when it came time for my next performance review. Would they hold this against me? As the days went by, though, everything seemed normal. My coworkers were curious about how I managed to get that extra day off, and I told them the whole story. Some of them thought I was brave, others thought I was crazy for risking my job, but most of them agreed that the company's policy was pretty rigid. Next year, I'll probably plan my time off a little better. But if I end up in the same situation again, at least I know I can handle it. And who knows, maybe by then, the company will have reconsidered its policies. A guy can dream, right? My 9-year-old boy Lauren needed his appendix removed. The whole ordeal started early in the morning when we arrived at the hospital for his surgery. Lauren was nervous about the procedure, but what really bothered him was having to wear nothing but a hospital gown. No socks, no underwear, just a thin piece of paper covering his body. When we got to the room to prep him, he immediately told his mom, my ex, and his aunt to leave or turn around while he got undressed. I could see the discomfort in his eyes and I knew I had to be there for him. It's okay, buddy. I'll help you get changed. Do you want everyone else to step out for a minute? Yes, please. I don't want them to see me naked. I nodded and turned to my ex and her sister. Could you ladies give us some privacy? Lauren's not comfortable changing with you here. They looked a bit surprised but agreed and left the room. I helped Lauren get into his gown, making sure he felt as comfortable as possible given the circumstances. The surgery went well and before we knew it, we were in a recovery room waiting for Lauren to wake up and be discharged. My ex, her sister, her 13-year-old niece and my 18-year-old son were all there with me. As Lauren started to come around, he whispered to me weakly, Dad, I want to put my clothes on. I don't like wearing just this gown with the girls here. I understood completely. The poor kid was practically naked under the flimsy paper gown. Just as I was about to ask everyone to step out again, a female nurse walked in to check Lauren's vitals. She started chatting with my ex, seemingly oblivious to Lauren's discomfort. Excuse me, could I ask everyone to step outside for a moment? I need to help Lauren get dressed. The nurse looked at me bewildered. I can help you dress him. He's still a bit weak from the anesthesia, she offered. No, thank you. My older son can help me if needed. Are you serious? You want me to leave over this? Yes, I am. My son doesn't feel comfortable getting dressed in front of four females. I've been a nurse for years and I've never heard of anything so crass. Her words hit a nerve. I couldn't believe she was being so insensitive to a child's feeling. He might be comfortable, but my son isn't. Your insensitivity is what's crass and clueless. My ex chimed in, clearly annoyed by the situation. You're being dramatic. It's not a big deal. It's a big deal to Lauren. Please just give us some privacy. Reluctantly, they all left the room, and my older son helped me get Lauren dressed. I could see the relief flash over Lauren's face as he put on his own clothes. It wasn't long before we were heading home, but the drama wasn't over yet. Later that evening, I received a call from my ex. You owe me and everyone else an apology for how he acted at the hospital. I am not apologizing for protecting my son's privacy and comfort. You made a scene over nothing. It was embarrassing. If the roles were reversed, you'd have a very different opinion. And by the way, Lauren needs to take bath for the next few days. Do not expect him to let you wash him or even be in the bathroom with him. That's ridiculous. I'm his mother. It's different with me, his brother, or his friends. I don't have to convince you for me to be right about this. You're being overprotective and paranoid. I am respecting our son's wishes and boundaries, and that's what good parents do. The conversation ended with both of us frustrated, but I knew I had done the right thing. Lauren's comfort and dignity were more important than anyone's hurt feelings or outdated notions of what's appropriate. The next morning, we faced another challenge when Lauren couldn't urinate and was in a lot of pain. We had to rush back to the hospital, and this time I was prepared to advocate for him even more strongly. As we checked in, I immediately asked about the nursing situation. Will a nurse be seeing my son before or after the doctor? The receptionist tells me, yes, a nurse will see him first. I'd like to request a male nurse, please. The receptionist looked surprised but said she'd asked the head nurse. A few minutes later, the head nurse approached us with a skeptical expression. Why is it so important to have a male nurse? I was getting tired of justifying my son's comfort, so I decided to be direct. We can schedule an appointment to fight over it after my son sees his doctor. Right now, he needs medical attention, and he'll be more comfortable with a male nurse. The head nurse pursed her lips but nodded and walked away. To my relief, they managed to find a male nurse, and the difference in Lauren's demeanor was immediately noticeable. He relaxed and seemed much more at ease. How are you feeling, buddy? A little better now. Thanks for helping me. No problem at all. That's what I'm here for. As a male nurse checked Lauren's vitals and prepared him for the doctors, he struck up a conversation with me. You know, a lot of female nurses take it personally when patients ask for a male nurse. It's always been that way, unfortunately. I can see that. But shouldn't patient comfort come first? Absolutely. It's not about the nurse's feelings, it's about providing the best care possible. And sometimes that means respecting a patient's preferences. I nodded, grateful for his understanding. Fortunately, Lauren didn't need a catheter, and the doctor was able to help him without any invasive procedures. On the drive home, Lauren spoke up from the backseat. Dad? Yes, buddy. Thanks for standing up for me at the hospital. I know it wasn't easy. His words made all the awkward conversations and confrontations worth it. You don't have to thank me, Lauren. It's my job to make sure you feel safe and comfortable, especially when you're not feeling well. I'm glad you were there with me. I will always be there for you, no matter what. I'll always try to be the father he needed me to be. And if that meant ruffling a few feathers along the way, so be it. My son's well-being would always come first.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.